Hi, I'm Beth, and welcome to today's reading. We are in 1 Maccabees, chapter 11. Then the king of Egypt gathered great forces, like the sand by the seashore, and many ships, and he tried to get possession of Alexander's kingdom by trickery and add it to his own kingdom. He set out for Syria with peaceable words, and the people of the towns opened their gates to him and went to meet him, for King Alexander had commanded them to meet him, since he was Alexander's father-in-law. But when Ptolemy entered the towns, he stationed forces as a garrison in each town. When he approached Azotus, they showed him the burnt-out temple of Dagon, and Azotus and its suburbs destroyed, and the corpses lying about, and the charred bodies of those whom Jonathan had burned in the war, for they had piled them in heaps along his route. They also told the king what Jonathan had done, to throw blame on him, but the king kept silent. Jonathan met the king at Joppa with pomp, and they greeted one another and spent the night there. And Jonathan went with the king as far as the river called Eleutherius, and he returned to Jerusalem. So King Ptolemy gained control of the coastal cities as far as Seleucia by the sea, and he kept devising wicked designs against Alexander. He sent envoys to King Demetrius, saying, "Come, let us make a covenant with each other, and I will give you in marriage my daughter, who is Alexander's wife, and you shall reign over your father's kingdom. I now regret that I gave him my daughter, for he has tried to kill me." He threw blame on Alexander because he coveted his kingdom. So he took his daughter away from him and gave her to Demetrius. He was estranged from Alexander, and their enmity became manifest. Then Ptolemy entered Antioch and put on the crown of Asia. Thus he put two crowns on his head, the crown of Egypt and that of Asia. Now King Alexander was in Cilicia at that time, because the people of that region were in revolt. When Alexander heard of it, he came against him in battle. Ptolemy marched out and met him with a strong force and put him to flight. So Alexander fled into Arabia to find protection there, and King Ptolemy was triumphant. Zabdiel the Arab cut off the head of Alexander and sent it to Ptolemy. But King Ptolemy died 3 days later, and his troops in the strongholds were killed by the inhabitants of the strongholds. So Demetrius became king in the 167th year. In those days, Jonathan assembled the Judeans to attack the citadel in Jerusalem, and he built many engines of war to use against it. But certain renegades who hated their nation went to the king and reported to him that Jonathan was besieging the citadel. When he heard this, he was angry, and as soon as he heard it, he set out and came to Ptolemais. And he wrote to Jonathan not to continue the siege, but to meet him for a conference at Ptolemais as quickly as possible. When Jonathan heard this, he gave orders to continue the siege. He chose some of the elders of Israel and some of the priests and put himself in danger. For he went to the king at Ptolemais, taking silver and gold and clothing and numerous other gifts, and he won his favor, although certain renegades of his nation kept making complaints against him. The king treated him as his predecessors had treated him. He exalted him in the presence of all his friends. He confirmed him in the high priesthood and in as many other honors as he had formerly had, and caused him to be reckoned among his chief friends. Then Jonathan asked the king to free Judea and 3 districts of Samaria from tribute, and promised him 300 talents. The king consented and wrote a letter to Jonathan about all these things. Its contents were as follows: King Demetrius, to his brother Jonathan and to the nation of the Jews, greetings. This copy of the letter that we wrote you concerning you to our kinsman Lassanes, we have written to you also, so that you may know what it says. King Demetrius to his father Lassanes, greetings. We have determined to do good to the nation of the Jews, who are our friends, and fulfill their obligations to us because of the goodwill they show toward us. We have confirmed as their possession both the territory of Judea and the 3 districts of Ephraim and Lydia and Rathan. The latter, with all the region bordering them, were added to Judea from Samaria. To all those who offer sacrifice in Jerusalem, we have granted release from the royal taxes that the king formerly received from them each year, from the crops of the land and fruit of the trees, and other payments henceforth due to us of the tithes, and the taxes due to us, and the salt pits, and the crown taxes due to us. From all these we shall grant them release. And not one of these grants shall be canceled from this time on forever. Now therefore, take care to make a copy of this, and let it be given to Jonathan, and put up in a conspicuous place on the holy mountain. When King Demetrius saw that the land was quiet before him, and that there was no opposition to him, he dismissed all his troops, all of them to their own homes, except the foreign troops that he had recruited from the islands of the nations. So all the troops who had served under his predecessors hated him. A certain Trypho had formerly been one of Alexander's supporters. He saw that all the troops were grumbling against Demetrius. So he went up to Amycus the Arab, who was bringing up Antiochus, the young son of Alexander, and insistently urged him to hand Antiochus over to him to become king in the place of his father. He also reported to Amalek what Demetrius had done, and told him of the hatred that the troops of Demetrius had for him, and he stayed there many days. Now Jonathan sent to King Demetrius the request that he remove the troops from the citadel of Jerusalem, and the troops in the strongholds, for they kept fighting against Israel. And Demetrius sent this message back to Jonathan: Not only will I do these things for you and your nation, but I will confer great honor on you and your nation, if I find an opportunity. Now then, you will do well to send me men who will help me, for all my troops have revolted. So Jonathan sent 3,000 stalwart men to him in Antioch, and when they came to the king rejoiced at their arrival. Then the people of the city assembled within the city, to the number of 120,000, and they wanted to kill the king. But the king fled into the palace. Then the people of the city seized the main streets of the city and began to fight. So the king called the Jews to his aid, and they all rallied around him, and then spread out throughout the city, and they killed on that day about 100,000. They set fire to the city and seized a large amount of spoil on that day and saved the king. When the people of the city saw that the Jews had gained control of the city as they pleased, their courage failed, and they cried out to the king with this entreaty: Grant us peace and make the Jews stop fighting against us and our city. And they threw down their arms and made peace. So the Jews gained glory in the sight of the king and of all the people in his kingdom, and they returned to Jerusalem with a large amount of spoil. So King Demetrius sat on the throne of his kingdom, and the land was quiet before him. But he broke his word about all that he had promised. He became estranged from Jonathan and did not repay the favors that Jonathan had done him, but treated him very harshly. After this, Trypho returned, and with him the young boy Antiochus, who began to reign and put on the crown. All the troops that Demetrius had discharged gathered around him. They fought against Demetrius, and he fled and was routed. Trypho captured the elephants and gained control of Antioch. Then the young Antiochus wrote to Jonathan, saying, I confirm to you the high priesthood, and set you over the 4 districts, and make you one of the king's friends. He also sent him gold plate and a table service, and granted him the right to drink from the gold cups and dress in purple, and to wear a gold buckle. He appointed Jonathan's brother Simon governor from the ladder of Tyre to the borders of Egypt. Then Jonathan set out and traveled beyond the river and among the towns, and all the army of Syria gathered to him as allies. When he came to Ashkelon, the people of the city met him and paid him honor. From there he went to Gaza, but the people of Gaza shut him out. So he besieged it and burned its suburbs with fire and plundered them. Then the people of Gaza pleaded with Jonathan, and he made peace with them, and took the sons of their rulers as hostages and sent them to Jerusalem. And he passed through the country as far as Damascus. Then Jonathan heard that the officers of Demetrius had come to Kadesh in Galilee with a large army, intending to remove him from office. He went to meet them, but left his brother Simon in the country. Simon encamped before Bethzur and fought against it for many days and hemmed it in. Then he asked them to grant them the terms of peace, and he did so. He removed them from there, took possession of the town, and set a garrison over it. Jonathan and his army encamped by the waters of Gennesaret. Early in the morning they marched to the plain of Hazor, and there in the plain the army of the foreigners met him. They had set an ambush against him in the mountains, but they themselves met him face to face. Then the men in ambush emerged from their places and joined battle. All the men with Jonathan fled. Not one of them was left except Matthias, son of Absalom, and Judas, son of Chalphi, commanders of the forces of the army. Jonathan tore his clothes and put dust on his head and prayed. Then he turned back to the battle against the enemy and routed them, and they fled. When his men who were fleeing saw this, they returned to him and joined in the pursuit as far as Kadesh to their camp, and there they encamped. As many as 3,000 of the foreigners fell that day, and Jonathan returned to Jerusalem. So yesterday I managed to read 1 Peter 4 again. So if you caught that, extra points for you. So we're going to read 1 Peter 5 and then James 1. 1 Peter 5. I exhort the elders who are among you, as one who is also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Messiah, as well as a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you. Take care of them, not by constraint, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly. Do not lord over those in your charge, but be examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive a crown of glory that will not fade away. Likewise, you younger ones, submit yourselves to the elders. Yes, all of you be submissive one to another and clothe yourselves with humility, because God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Cast all your care upon him, because he cares for you. Be sober and watchful, because your adversary, the devil, walks around as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him firmly in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. But after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called us to his eternal glory through Messiah Yeshua, will restore, support, strengthen, and establish you. To him be the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. With the help of Silas, whom I consider to be a faithful brother to you, I have written briefly, exhorting you and testifying that this is the true grace of God in which you stand. The assembly that is at Babylon, elect together with you, greets you, and so does Mark, my son. Greet one another with a kiss of love. Peace be with you all who are in Messiah Yeshua. Amen. James 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yeshua the Messiah, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings. My brothers, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing that the trying of your faith develops patience. But let patience complete its work, that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally, without criticism, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, without wavering. For he who wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed with the wind. Let not that man think that he will receive anything from the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he will pass away. For the sun rises with a burning heat, and it withers the grass, and its flowers fall, and its beauty perishes. So will the rich man wither away in his ways. Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he is tried, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither does he tempt anyone. But each man is tempted when he is drawn away by his own lust and enticed. Then, when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and when sin is finished, it brings forth death. Do not be led astray, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom is no change or shadow of turning. Of his own will he brought us forth with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Therefore, my beloved brothers, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of a man does not work the righteousness of God. Therefore, lay aside all filthiness and remaining wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. Be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like a man viewing his natural face in a mirror. He views himself and goes away and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. But whoever looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word. This man will be blessed in his deeds. If anyone among you seems to be religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Psalm 35. Plead my cause, O Lord, with my adversaries. Fight those who fight me. Take hold of the large shield and the small shield, and rise up for my help. Draw the spear and javelin against those who pursue me. Say to my soul, I am your salvation. May those who seek my life be ashamed and humiliated. May those who plan my injury be turned back and put to shame. May they be as chaff before the wind, and may the angel of the Lord cast them down. May their way be dark and slippery, and may the angel of the Lord pursue them. For without cause they have hidden their net for me in a pit, which they have dug without cause for my soul. Let destruction come on him without warning, and let the net that he hid ensnare him. Let him fall into it, to his destruction. My soul be joyful in the Lord. It will rejoice in his salvation. All my bones will say, Lord, who is like you? Who delivers the poor from a stronger one, the poor and the needy from the one who robs them? Witnesses intent on violence rose up. They accused me of things I know nothing about. They rewarded me evil for good, the bereavement of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returns to my own heart. I paced as though he were my friend or brother. I bowed down lamenting, as one who mourns for a mother. But in my adversity, they rejoiced and gathered together. Assailants gathered together against me. Though I was unaware, they tore me apart and did not stop. With hypocritical mockers and feasts, they gnashed on me with their teeth. Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my life from the lions. I will give you thanks in the great congregation. I will praise you among a mighty people. May my deceitful enemies not rejoice over me, nor may those who hate me without cause wink with their eye. For they do not seek peace, but they devise deceitful matters against the restful ones in the land. They opened their mouth wide against me and said, Aha, aha, our eye has seen it. This you have seen, O Lord. Do not be silent. O Lord, be not far from me. Rouse yourself and awake for my judgment. For my cause, my God and my Lord. Judge me, O my Lord, according to your righteousness. And may they not rejoice over me. May they not say in their hearts, Ah, we have our soul's desire. May they not say, We have swallowed him up. May those who rejoice at my harm be ashamed and altogether put to shame. May they be clothed with shame and dishonor, who magnify themselves against me. May those who favor my righteous cause shout for joy and be glad. May they say continually, The Lord be magnified, who delights in the peace of his servant. My tongue will speak of your righteousness and of your praise all the day long. Thus ends the reading for today. Never walk alone.